Hello, everybody. I'm Devin, and welcome to Devin Reads Books. It is June 5th, 4th. I don't have my watch, and my phone's recording right now. Somewhere around there. It might actually be the 6th. I don't know my days, or my days of the week for that matter. This is what happens when you're edging 30. Today, we're going to go over everything I read in May and make kind of a little tentative short list. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today. Of what I want to try and read in June. So without further ado, let's get started. So I started reading this for Old School April, and I did not finish. So I finished it in May, so I'm counting it in May, and that is The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas. This was wild. So I love creature features in general. And I particularly love like swarms of bugs. The Bay, where I don't want to give too much away, kind of these isopods start taking over a coastal city. Well, it's more of like I guess Rhode Island is coastal, but it's more of like a northeastern island town rather than like what you would expect to see in California or like Florida. And this one's about cockroaches, and it's wild. It's wild. It is true, like, paperback from hell, 1980s. I don't want to go too into spoilers or anything. The swarm evolves, and they eat people. And then one guy that they eat has intercourse with a hole in the ground. And that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. This is a really wild read. It's super fun if you like creature features and like 80s trashier or hoarder. It's not that trashy, but there's definitely some stuff in here that you would not see in horror books today outside of like indie publishers. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. I'd have to double check that, but this is definitely like a 4-star book. And these aren't going to be in the particular order I read them, and that'll make sense at the end because I read 6 books in a whole series, and I want to get through some other stuff first. Then I DNF'd, actually, we're going to go through that. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I did not enjoy this. So I really love this one right behind me, The Haunting of Hill House, but it feels tangible. We Have Always Lived in the Castle is told from the perspective of the younger sister. I don't even remember her name off the top of my head. And her family has always kind of been ostracized from the rest of the community. And there's kind of hints about why, what happened. Her sister was involved in a murder. But not a lot really happens for most of the 200-page book. Until like the very end when a creepy cousin comes and it's very obvious what's going on and how he's kind of up to no good. And then it's just, the payoff isn't really worth it. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. Maybe I'll try to pick it up again later, but there just wasn't there. It was basically just the younger sister kind of telling her day-to-day life and seeing herself as like a witch, but it's not real. It's not what's happening. So I think if this would have had more actual paranormal stuff, it probably would have been a lot more enjoyable. If you like this book, more power to you. I'm not gonna unhaul it yet. I would like to try to give it another go. Maybe when I'm in a better headspace. I am kind of mood readerish, but yeah, I DNF'd it this past month. It wasn't for me. What was for me though was Where the Dead Wait by Allie Wilkes. I love this book so much. I think this was my February Nightworms hardcover. I don't remember. I definitely got it from Nightworms. I just don't remember the exact month. This was spectacular. So it's about this guy who was a captain in the Exploration Society in England. He had well, he didn't start as a captain. His first voyage kind of went south, and he ended up being field promoted all the way to captain. And they had to partake in some cannibalism to survive, and his reputation was kind of like tarnished after that. Years and years later, he'd kind of retired from the service. He was hired to bring back one of his old crewmates from that first expedition who had captained another one and gotten lost. And it's just so spectacular. So many things kind of happen on the ice. The blurb says better than Dan Simmons' The Terror, and I loved The Terror, but I would almost agree that this was more enjoyable, but in the same vein. They get trapped out on the ice again. Weird, creepy, crazy stuff starts happening. They take the missing crewmate's wife with them because she's supposed to be this praised psychic and all this stuff, and that just leads to more paranormal kind of happenings. A lot of it centered on the main character's the captain. I can't remember his name either. William Day. I am not having a good day. But it has to do with like William's guilt off of what happened in the first expedition, how it kind of ruined his life, ostracized him from his own family, and all he wants to do is find this missing crewmate who he was kind of in love with after the first venture. He had kind of already grown and attached to his missing crewmate, Jesse Stevens, that's his name. Real sorry, guys, I'm like out of it, I guess. And they kind of, when they got rescued, they kind of separated, never saw each other again. So this is his opportunity to really see Jesse again and hopefully save his life. And just everything that can go wrong starts to go wrong. Super creepy, super good. So good of an ending. Oh my god, the third arc of this book is just incredible. Highly recommended. This was like a 4-star, almost 5-star read for me. It's very close. I think I gave it 4-star on Goodreads, but I could definitely end up moving this up to 5 stars in the future. It's one of those I go back and forth on. Next, I needed just a little bit of a kind of a palate cleanser, but with horror genre. So I read my first Natasha Preston book, The Island. Natasha Preston is one of those authors that kind of got started on Wattpad, blew up, and is now in print. She writes a lot of like young adult mystery slashers, mystery thrillers. And in this one, a private amusement park gets opened up for all of these content creators before it's actually open, and it's supposed to be like horror themed, super scary. And then obviously pretty much every high school cliche is represented here, but amongst the content creators. So like instead of a jock, he's like a slice of life vlogger. And then there's a gaming YouTuber. And then the main character, she's a true crime podcaster, basically. And so they get invited to this island to kind of show it off to all of their followers. And then someone ends up dead. Someone sunk the boats. There's no way off the island after the storm. And it kind of just goes normal teen slasher after that. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was only, I think, 300 or so pages. I didn't like the ending, like literally the last page very much. I don't want to spoil anything. But the mystery throughout the book is really intriguing. It's really well done whodunit. I need to stop saying but it is very, very well done in that you can kind of follow along and guess and pick who was where at what time. Can we really believe this person? And that's my favorite type of slasher horror book. That's my favorite type of slasher horror movie, for the record. I want to solve it. I love that. I love when I get enough that we can pick out like what's actually going on before the movie tells us or the book tells us. And that was definitely done in The Island, and I loved it. And I was still almost wrong. I was half right. There were some details that I missed. And then I did it again. My last book that I read this month, before we get into the series that I read 6 of, was The Hatching by Ezekiel Boone. I just finished this last night, and I honestly don't know how I feel about it. I mean, you can see from the cover kind of what it's about. It's a creature feature, spider webs, it's spider-based creature feature. I'm gonna get better at this, I promise. But it's really about like swarms of spiders that have just started hatching from the earth. The problem with the hatching isn't the concept. It's that by chapter 3, you have 11 POVs. There are 11 named characters that just continue to show up. And there are characters in here that show up for one page and then just die, and that's it. You never see him again. Like, there's no point in that character existing. Like, towards the end, there's one guy who walks a dog. Just nothing. He has no other bearing on this book. And there's a second one coming, I guess, Skittering, and maybe he'll make an appearance there. But like, there's too much going on. If the author had just focused on a couple of characters, the military characters, the scientist character, and I think either the survivalist or the president. I would probably go for the president. Survivalists haven't really done anything yet either. I would think it would have been much better, and he could have really focused on the horror of the spiders. But there's so much to unpack with like characters that it detracts from the entire experience. You're just jumping around all these different viewpoints. You're not really connecting with any of them. It was kind of a miss for me. I think I gave it 3 stars, but I don't think I would go to 4. This is one that kind of teeters on the edge for 2 or 3 for me. And that is unfortunate. I really, really wanted to like this book. I was really excited when I saw it on an episode of Gavin Reads It All, I think it was his channel's video. He did a vlog with Elliot Harback Horder, and she picked this out, and I was really hoping it was going to be super good, but I was very disappointed. I don't know if I'm going to get the second book. I might. I'm probably still going to unhaul this first one. It breaks my heart. I really wanted a really good spider creature feature book. One of my favorite movies ever is Eight-Legged Freak, so I really wanted to love it, and I'm just sad I didn't. But life goes on, and so does this vlog. So I read 6 books in a series, and that is all 6 books in the first Warriors series, and I was enamored. So I did not read these when they came out in 2003 when I was 8 or 9. At that point, I was like super into the New Jedi Order. I was starting to get into Tolkien. So I was like, I'm not reading books about cats. How dark. That's beneath me. These are not, well, I mean, they are about cats, but also they're basically Game of Thrones, but all the characters are cats. I don't want to spoil specifics. In these 6 books, a lot of cats die. Like, a lot. In a lot of different ways. There's different clans. They go to war. It's insane, some of the stuff that has happened. And the author herself, I guess, has said, I was contracted to write a book about cats, but I wanted to write about what I wanted to write about, and the publisher just let me. And that's the result. I really love these. There were days where I read 3 in like one day. There's a cut here because I forgot to clear up enough storage. Anyway, so this book focuses on, the series rather, at least in the first 6 books, I haven't read any of the other ones, focuses on Rusty, who was born a kitty pet, basically, but he's not the most happy. And then one day, he kind of goes into the woods and sees these different clans of warriors. They're just cats. And he wants that. He wants to hunt for all of his food, patrol his own territory, kind of like serve to live ThunderClan. And he does. And so many things happen. I cannot speak enough about this series and just how close it is to adult fantasy. Not even young adult, but just full-on adult fantasy. If you made all of these cats human characters, it would read a lot like a Brandon Sanderson book, and that's just insane to me. I can't believe that I took so long to read these. Like, they have medics, they have a clan leader, they have gatherings. Clans are like go to war in this series. Dogs, a pack of dogs gets out into the forest where all the different clans live. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's so good. As a 6 set, which will be how all of my reviews for these come out. I'm working on this one right now. This, I don't know what sixtuplet, I don't know what that's called. But these 6 books right here, The Prophecy Begins, the first series, 5 stars. Just through and through, 5 stars. Once I started reading any of them, I couldn't put them down. Pretty much every single book here I read in at least a day and a half, and some of them I read in just one day. And I'm not a very focused reader. So that is everything that I 100% read in the month of May. Now let's talk about what I'm reading now and what I am going to read. So I started this last night, and that is Extinction by Douglas Preston. There's the dust covers floating around somewhere. I don't put them on when I read them. This book is kind of like Jurassic Park. Basically, there is a de-extinction park here in Colorado, and instead of dinosaurs, it focuses on Ice Age animals. There's woolly mammoth, Glyptodon, which is the giant Ice Age armadillo. What else has been talked about in here? Ground sloths. Haven't seen them yet. But basically in the first few chapters, there's this couple, one of them's pregnant, and they're kind of on a nature-guided hike, and then one night they are killed, just disappeared, killed, something hunted them. And then from there on, it's kind of a mystery thriller with, I'm presuming, monsters. I'm really enjoying it so far. I can't wait to read more of this month. Hopefully I'll finish it in a few days and then move on the list. So everything in here is not set in stone, and the only thing that I think is going to be added and will be set in stone for this month, I just made a huge mess, is the new Michael Crichton, James Patterson Eruption. I'm very curious to see kind of how this goes in terms of thrillery, because Michael Crichton, he's kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's creature feature, sometimes the evil is man, sometimes it's a germ, and sometimes it's just like, I don't know how to describe sphere, space-ish, alien-ish. So I'm very excited to kind of see what this is about. The blurb is really, really small, basically. A history-making eruption is about to destroy the big island of Hawaii, and the U.S. military made a terrible mistake that could mean the end of life as we know it. It's so vague, and even at the bookstore, the publisher synopsis is just as vague. So I don't even know what to expect with this. I'm probably going to read it right after Extinction. That might change. I've been feeling some sci-fi and some other stuff, but this is going to get read this month for sure. So now I want to move into the stuff that I might read this month. Starting off with something that is way out of my wheelhouse, but I love the pair. I just love the themes, and I had to do it. They're actually young adult romance, and that is 12th Night, Barnes & Noble Book Club edition with the sprayed edges. This is Game On. This is basically a retelling of Shakespeare's 12th Night, but with a football player who gets injured and a girl who kind of meet in an online MMORPG. He's got time to kill. She just likes playing the game, and that's kind of how they meet and what happens. And it's also, other than the sprayed edges, there's also super beautiful artwork on the inside. And when I saw this, I got a feeling I was going to get it. I am the Degrassi One Tree Hill generation, so teen dramas at some points, at some level, really get me intrigued. So I'm very excited to see about this one. And when I saw this one, I had to get this other one called Dungeons and Drama. I love World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV. I love MMOs and RPGs, like it's on this table right here, and Ticket to Ride, which whatever Express is based off of. And I had to try it. I think it's really cool. Like, there's Catan. I think that's Azul. And then code names. Like, they have actual board games on the cover. And this one is pretty much exactly what you expect from a teen romance or like a Hallmark style movie. Riley Morris loves musicals. She wants to be a Broadway director, but her spring show gets canceled. And while trying to find a way to bring it back, she's stuck working at her dad's game store where she meets this guy. She wants to make... Oh no, he wants to make his ex jealous in exchange for helping her run the store so she could free up time to go deal with her show. She'll help him do that. And I obviously it's going to end with them at least dating in some degree and being really good friends afterwards, probably in love. I don't know. I don't read teen romance. I had to grab these two. Those are like top of the tentative list, kind of depending on how I feel. And then I have everything else kind of broken down. I'm not super feeling fantasy right now. That might change later in the month. I do really want to read Prior to the Orange Tree. I haven't read it yet, so I'm kind of teetering on that. But for now, if I don't feel like fantasy this month, I think I'm going to grab the Book of Three. I did it again. The Book of Three, not the Book of the Three, by Lloyd Alexander. This is the first book in the Chronicles of Prydain, which is the series that Disney's Black Cauldron was actually made from. I don't know a lot about it. If you've seen the Black Cauldron movie, you kind of know who the players are. Taran was an assistant pig keeper to a prophetic pig, and the Horned King is back and trying to take over the land. And they're trying to keep the pig safe because the Horned King wants the pig. I love the art. I love this depiction of the Horned King, and I am kind of really leaning towards reading it. It's pretty short. It is like young readers fantasy, only a couple hundred pages. It is old though, so it is kind of Tolkien-y read, but like for a younger adult, more like The Hobbit than Lord of the Rings, really. And my throat is feeling very hoarse, so I'm trying to talk loud enough. I hope this comes out okay. I've also been kind of in a sci-fi mood, but like I don't know what kind of sci-fi, so I just piled up some options. First, I've had this book for years and I haven't read it yet, and it is Warhammer 40k, Legends of the Dark Millennium, Space Wolves. I'm not a big 40k guy, but I love Space Wolves. I love their lore. I mean, I love the lore of 40k in general, but Space Wolves are for sure my favorite looking army, favorite lore army, just 110%. And so I'm very excited to eventually, hopefully, dive into this month as my sci-fi pick. Next, I need to read the second book in the Republic Commando series, 000. I really liked the first one. This series kind of focuses on a single squad of clone commandos during the Clone Wars. I don't know much about this one. Deployed behind enemy lines, Spec Ops grind. Oh, this is the one where they go to Coruscant and kind of look for a spy. Okay, I thought that was the third one. But it sounds like this one, and that could be really cool. I want to get back into reading more Star Wars expanded universe stuff, so if it's not Clone Wars, it's, you guys can't see it, but right down here is my Star Wars shelf. It's got a lot of the Old Republic, High Republic stuff on there, High Republic. And then if I want something like deep sci-fi right now, I do need to read On Basilisk Station by David Weber. This is a huge space opera. Started the Honorverse. This is Honor Harrington right here. It's her little tree cat. She embarrasses a superior in a training exercise, and she gets command of a ship, but she gets deployed way out on the edge of the galaxy. But some of the other political players in this universe have some stuff going on while they're the only line of defense on that edge of the galaxy. I really want to get into this series a lot, but it is deep. There's a lot of technical jargon, a lot of characters. It's going to be a series that I have to track on like my... Wow, happened again. I really underestimated how much space 4K and 60 FPS takes. Anyway, this is a big, deep space opera with a lot of political players, and I don't know if that's something that I want to dive into this month in particular, or if I want to wait until I'm really in the mood for it. And then I want to read a Western this month. I'm not really doing June on the Range with Michael K. Vaughan, and I think even Kelsey Slime and Slashers is doing it. But I do want to read at least one Louis L'Amour Western. I've kind of been in the mood. I've been watching Yellowstone more than I should. What is... Oh my god, it's one of my old biology in college note cards. But, yeah, I don't know which one I'm going to read. This is Man from Broken Hills. He's been riding an outlaw trail, and there's kind of some stuff that's going on, and one of the ranches that he's stuck on. A lot of Louis L'Amour's Westerns are kind of the same general plot, and there's just some different characters and some different twists.